Could Ukraine's cross-border incursion change the outcome of the war? To learn more about the strategy behind this surprise attack, we hear from Kervin Aucoin. He's the former lead intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coordinator for the U.S. Army in Europe and the host of This Week Explained podcast. Good morning, Kervin. Thanks for being here. As we mentioned, President Zelensky says his push into Russia is to create a buffer zone and to prevent some future Russian attacks. Can this change the course of the war, and is this an effective strategy?
Look, it can certainly change the war. And first of all, let me say thank you for having me on this morning. Yeah, it can change the trajectory of this war, but we're not seeing it right now. So what Zelensky is saying publicly is what he's allowed to say publicly, because the tactical and strategic plan of this is not just that buffer zones. From a tactical sense, the Ukrainians wanted Russia to move forces from Donetsk and Kherson into the Kursk region to battle that, try to push Ukrainian forces where they would then counter that to go into Donetsk and try to retake that land. And then from a strategic point, or I should say a political point, is Ukraine wanted to go into negotiations for a ceasefire or a peace deal with the upper hand. They did not want this to be Russia having the advantage and getting what they wanted out of a peace deal. What has happened there is I found out over the weekend there was a secret meeting or informal meeting that was supposed to happen in Qatar, sometime this month in August, with Russia and Ukraine informally talking about a ceasefire. Russia has now pulled out of that, stating that this Kursk offensive or this incursion into Kursk has led them to leave the negotiating table for that.
Really complicating things here, definitely, Kervin. Expanding on what you're saying, delving into the specifics a little bit, there's military bloggers who are aligned with the Kremlin, and they acknowledge that that bridge near the town of Glushkovo is destroyed, and they say this could disrupt some of those Russian supply lines, but they say the Russians might use pontoons or smaller bridges as a bypass there. Open to comment on that, but now let's talk about the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. Is it going as planned here? And how was this twist, this cross-border strike, going to impact the Russian military maneuvers?
Yeah, I don't think the war has been going to Russia's plan or Putin's plan since early on in the invasion. Look, in early 2022, Putin made a misstep or a miscalculation trying to take Kyiv early on. The Ukrainians fought back. They repelled that offensive into Kyiv. And since then, Russia just has not had the upper hand. What we have seen is a stalemate, and Putin trying to take other victories like Donetsk and Kherson that we mentioned before. Now, what Ukraine has done is take the fight to Russia, to Putin, to the people of Russia as they've gotten into Kursk. And right now, yeah, they're doing an incredible job tactically by destroying these bridges. So they're watching what Russia's doing, moving some forces, moving conscripts into the area, and they are strategically attacking these, lines of communication that are what we would call in the military LOCs, lines of communication. Those are roads, anything, bridges, anything like that. Destroying that bridge, making Russia replan attacks that they were already planning into there. This is a complete defeat of the Russian military in this particular region.
Okay, Kervin, let's talk about how the president of Belarus says that it has positioned a third of its army on the border with Ukraine in a defensive posture. How does this complicate the tensions alongside Ukraine's incursion into Russian territory?
Yeah, it's definitely not helpful, but that's always been in play. Belarus has always been in play. Listen, last summer, Russia decided that they were going to move nuclear weapons from Russian sites into Belarus to help defend against the Ukrainians. And now what it looks like is Belarus is coming out publicly and stating that they are ready to protect their borders if something were to happen. I feel like they are saying that they're going to protect their borders once Putin says that they can make an attack. And so this incursion into Kursk could be a beginning to that, of Putin feeling the effects politically, strategically of what Ukraine is doing. And, the future, we don't know what that holds. If Belarus does get involved, that's going to be a huge escalation.
So, Kervin, we just have a few seconds here. A lot of other moving parts. The nuclear power plant in Russia that's under threat, they say, and also the Russians, who are really upset with the Ukrainian army for taking their land, but also upset with the Russian army for not protecting them. Any final comments here?
Well, first of all, so in Zaporizhzhia, the nuclear power plant is deteriorating. It has not been in use for since 2022. It's something to look at, but I don't see, a big nuclear catastrophe happening right this second. Now, with the Russian people, yes, more and more. This is something I said last week. I'm very interested to see how the Russian people are going to react, and they look to be reacting negatively towards what Putin has done. This is the first time that the war has reached their doorsteps, and they are not happy. They're not happy with the way the Russian military has worked in here in protecting them. And Putin has said that he would protect the Russian people, and right now he is not.
Well, thank you for contributing. Kervin Aucoin, former lead intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coordinator for the U.S. Army.
Thank you.